Good evening, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Coffee with Mare. I really wanted to share with you today some, improvements in my pain levels and talk a little bit about different kinds of pain. So, first of all, chronic pain is something that a lot of people live with and often get to a point where they feel quite helpless and that there isn't anything that they can do. I've spoken about this in a prior video about how I had done a course called Neuroplastic Transformation for Chronic Pain. And that is a course that's available to anybody. The course I took was facilitated by a specialist that I was seeing at the time. However, you can go on the website neuroplastics.com, and that's neuroplastics with an X at the end instead of CS to end plastics. It's really worth doing. It is good to be in a group maybe, or have somebody who's facilitating that program for you, because it is a lot of very dry information on neurology and how your brain works and how neuroplasticity works and how you can make it work for you. So I might get into some more techniques about that in another video, just because there are a few things that were really important takeaways for me out of that course. So, and make sure you guys are hydrating. Today we're doing the silver tea, aka hot water again. I do drink a lot of hot water, even though the segment's called Coffee with Mare. It's more homage to coffee because I adore coffee, but I don't necessarily drink it every day. So there's a little bit of trivia for you. So while I was on my road trip, I noticed one day that I went pretty well until about dinner time, from the time I woke up to dinner time, without really feeling like I needed pain meds. That's kind of a big deal for me. Usually I wake up and first thing in the morning, just so that I can manage my pain throughout the day. I have to get on it really early. And that's something that a big difference between acute pain and chronic pain is that acute pain is a signal that's trying to tell your body that there's something wrong. It's kind of that fight or flight response. Pain is there to indicate that there's danger and that there's something that, could be harmful to you if you don't get out of the situation that you're in, and that you need to protect your body. Where chronic pain is pain that persists past the point of the body really feeling or needing to feel that there's danger or that it's threatened in any way. So if you do have what I call sudden onset acute pain, or I call it SOAP for short, just because it's kind of cute. But when I have sudden onset acute pain show up in my life, I know that I need to treat it right away, because if you don't treat it, that's what ends up developing into chronic pain over time if it persists. Now, I understand, I'm not one of these people who, was going to see my family doctor and asking for stronger and stronger and stronger pain meds, because being as athletic as I was when I was younger, I'd already done that merry-go-round of different pain meds and muscle relaxants and anti-inflammatories, and I've had multiple collisions that I've been involved in where I wasn't at fault, but I was still hurt seriously enough that I needed treatment to be able to get past it. And so I have taken opioid type drugs in the past, and they did not sit well with me. They caused more havoc with my IBS, and sometimes they were actually really difficult to get off of. And these are meds that were prescribed to me by a doctor who worked in a clinic that was dedicated to helping people rehabilitate after injuries of some sort. And that doctor had actually assured me that the meds I was going on were not habit forming, because that was one of the first questions out of my mouth. Is it habit forming? And I was told no, which I later found out was not true. I did more research on the meds that I was on and found out that sure enough, they were habit forming. I'm not going to name names as far as which drugs they were at this point. Point is, I didn't want more of that in my life as my chronic illnesses got worse and worse, and that I needed to manage my pain in some way because it was just getting really out of control and I didn't have anything that would treat it effectively. So my family doctor and we came up with a plan. I went to a different specialty clinic and I now have the meds that I need to help me manage my pain so that I'm functional in a day and control it on the days where I know that I might not be totally functional, but I also don't want to just be lying around in bed in agony all day long. So I think part of that, I can really credit my mom with that. My mom was a nurse for 47 years. And so growing up at home, it was very much, if you have to take antibiotics, you make sure you take all of them and you finish your course of antibiotics. If you're given pain meds and you're given a schedule to follow, you follow it, and that's what you do. And so it was never, keep taking more meds until you start feeling better. It was always, you need to follow the guidelines that are set out, especially when it comes to pain medication and to treating injuries. Because there's also the superhero factor. When you're young and you get injured either through a sports injury or, if it's an accident of somehow, you can start taking pain meds and you start feeling pretty invulnerable. You start feeling like, oh wow, what injury? Like I can go about my whole day and I can do exactly what I did before and I can just kind of pretend that I'm not injured, which always ends up with repercussions. It doesn't end well when you ignore your body that way because you can end up doing more damage to the area that's already injured. So it's always good to be cautious and to know that your pain meds are there to help you in a time of crisis. And it seems like if people don't necessarily follow the plan prescribed for their meds when they have sudden onset acute pain and they're just waiting till the last minute, they're waiting until they're in a lot of pain and then they go and take their meds just on their schedule or beyond the scheduled time, so like they skip a dose. That's when you can start getting into trouble and start having chronic pain because it's something that persists and your body starts having a heightened response to anything that could possibly be painful. So hypervigilance comes with that, and I have experienced that in the past. And I've talked about that too because I do have lots of amazing kids in my life, and I love to give my nephews and my niece and my daughter and her friends big hugs, right? But when I'm having a really painful day, it's almost like there's trepidation for anybody coming near you or touching you because what would be a light touch on someone else will sometimes leave a bruise on me. So it took me a long time to start being aware of that response and realizing that it's like, okay, no, that didn't hurt. We're okay. We don't need to worry, right? And it's also that I've talked to the little ones about, gentle hugs for Auntie Mare and making sure that, try not to jump on me because that will hurt. It doesn't matter how good I'm feeling, that will hurt for me. So, and there's probably not a lot of people that could say that, a 6 and an 8-year-old could jump on them and that it wouldn't hurt. But so imagine that, you're already in a very sensitized state. So you're kind of expecting the pain before it gets there. It's not just like when you bump your knee and it's unexpected pain. It's like you're waiting for it. So it does take some retraining of your mindset around chronic pain to start reducing the levels of chronic pain. So if anyone has questions about that, I'm happy to talk to you about that. Coaching people through pain, I mean, when you have worked with athletes and been athletic, and you all end up coaching each other in one form or another, that it's like, you know what, you can get through this. You're going to make it through physio. You're going to be fine afterwards. You're going to be able to come back to work if you were injured, like especially when I was doing sports. And it really helps to have that community rally around you. But if you're not really being mindful of your pain and taking care of it, that can also have lasting repercussions. So ignoring it, never really a good thing. A lot of people say, oh, I'll just tough it out. I can push through the pain. I don't need the painkillers. And I know I have said that many, many times myself, especially when I've been offered things like opioids. I'm like, no, I really don't, because I don't need anything else that's going to mess up my guts more than they already are. But finally, we came to a good solution. I live in Canada. Do a little research. You might come up with what that solution might be without me actually saying it. But I can tell you that having that plan and having the support of my family and my family doctor and my friends to, help me as I was navigating that journey to getting better control of my pain and inflammation, that now I'm on the other side of it, and I say I have 100% no regrets whatsoever for turning down opioids, and things are going so much better. But I do also believe that it's carnivore doing its job. So if you haven't gone over to the carnivore playlist, that's where I have recorded the first 30 days of my carnivore journal and have been putting updates up there. And so even though this isn't a Coffee with Mare segment, it's kind of an overlapping subject because it has to do with pain, and I do think that my pain is improving greatly. The amount of pain that I have is improving because there's less inflammation in my body. So it's working, it's doing its job. And I will post a separate update about other things all good with carnivore very soon. I guess the other thing to remember when you are in a lot of pain, and you have been in a lot of pain for a very long time, that you probably have fallen out of the habit of talking about it. And unless I'm having acute pain, that's mostly what I might discuss if someone asks me how I'm feeling, but I don't necessarily talk about the day-to-day pain that I have in my body because it's pretty much there every day. And even though I did have that day where I didn't have to take any pain meds right up until about dinner time, I did need to still take my meds. And, and part of it I think was just being distracted because I was busy and I was out and about all day, and I was, seeing friends and having a really good day. So yeah, there might have been a few twinges in there, but it wasn't one of those like, okay, I need to do something about this, until later. And then, I did take care of the pain that I had that evening just from being out and about and maybe overdoing things a little bit because I was having a good day. So there always seems to be a cost to whatever I do, regardless of what it is. And that's where I talk a lot about planning and planning my sleep, planning my rest, making sure I take the rest days when I need them so that I can be in good shape for the days where I need to be up and about. And that's a lot of self-care as well, that I know if I neglect my self-care that things start to spiral downward very quickly. And my self-care is starting to look more and more like getting out of the house as opposed to being in the house and resting, which is a really good thing. Because every year I always say to myself, my goal is that I want to be out in the world a little bit more than I was last year and see the people that I know and love and do the things that I enjoy as much as possible. So there's a lot more that's possible for me this year than there was last year, and certainly more than the year before. Everything's heading in a good direction. So what's your pain like? Is your pain something that is just ever present? Is it always there? Is it like a nagging pain? Is it burning? Is it something that it feels like a stabbing pain? It's important to identify those keywords for yourself, because when you go see your physician, or if you end up in Emerge for some reason or another, you need to be able to tell them if your pain is different. Because when you go in and see a doctor and you have chronic illness, I know that my family doctor and we certainly talk about that, whether the pain is the same or whether it's a new pain, so that we can identify whether there's other things that are at work. It might be worth making a couple of notes in your phone, or tracking it somehow. I do track my pain levels more than the type of pain that I have. I used to track the type of pain when that was something that was more relevant, but now it's more, I guess, the severity of the pain that I'm tracking, and that's working fine, because it's not like I really need to be monitoring that for new peaks of pain, because now the pain's actually decreasing and the frequency of the pain is decreasing, and I'm not going to say the severity is decreasing, because with sudden onset as opposed to chronic pain, like for instance, I was talking to you all about last week when I had something pop out of my back and it was making it very difficult for me to breathe for a couple of days. Yeah, there's no controlling that severity. It is what it is. Something pops out of your back and you have a hard time breathing and it feels like someone's stabbing you in the lungs. You know, that's something I either have to go see my chiropractor if I can get in right away, or I just have to ride it out. And sure enough, like within a couple of days, that was gone. But I don't know when that's going to show up. When it shows up on a day where I have stuff to do, that's where I am very, very careful on making sure that I bring all of the medication I need with me for the day, and that I'm going to have opportunities to sit if that's possible. You know, so it's not like I would plan an entire day of walking, like going for a 4-hour hike. No, that's not in my repertoire at the moment, as much as I enjoy being in the mountains and hiking. It's something I just haven't been able to do, because sometimes my energy gets depleted very, very quickly, especially if I start having pain at the same time. So at this moment in time, I don't trust myself to go on hikes, because I don't want to crash halfway through the hike and then be so exhausted that it will be really, really detrimental to get back to the trailhead, and you know, and then probably spend a week in bed after the fact. That doesn't get me any further ahead. And that also has to do with the exercise intolerance that comes along with having Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that is in a flare. So yeah, so something for you all to think about. It is important to acknowledge your pain, to know that it's there. The more you resist it, the more it will persist, right? I've said that before. What you resist will persist. Start getting to know your pain so you can start navigating that and maybe find treatments. And they may be unconventional treatments. Keep your mind open. There's a lot of really great alternate therapies like acupuncture, chiropractic, massage therapy, osteopathy is wonderful as well. You know, some people love physio. Physio for me is something that is still not a part of my life, because it's actually physically too much work for me right now. And it's not that I'm a wimp or anything, it's that I seriously just don't have enough energy to do a full exercise repertoire. It is better than the last time I was in physio for sure. But even at that point, the physiotherapist and I had a chat and we agreed that it was probably best for me to move forward with things like massage therapy that were more passive on my part, because it was too hard on my body to be trying to do exercise because I was already in so much pain. and that it wasn't going to be beneficial for me to be doing the exercises if it just left me feeling completely wiped out. That wasn't going to move me ahead of the place I was in already. Oh, water's so good. Yeah. So I'd love your thoughts as always, and I so appreciate all of the comments and the suggestions people are coming up with. I'm always here to listen, and in building this community, I really want us to be able to share the tools that we've gained over the years so that we can help each other and help others out that, you know, might be in rougher shape than we are. You know, I can say right now I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I've been very tired the last few days, and so there's been a lot of lying down and just horizontal resting going on. But I'm listening to my body, and I was hungry today. Oh, that was good, and it wasn't like a nauseous, I need to eat. It was just like, oh man, you know what? I got a lot of stuff in my fridge that looks good right now. So I had some leftover salmon, and my daughter and I had some ham for dinner, and you know, and it's really good when I have those days and I feel like I can eat a substantial amount. So that's another thing that is on the upswing, is appetite is slowly getting better and nausea levels are slowly coming down. So let's just think positive and hope that that is a trend that will continue. So if you did like this video, please make sure that you give us a big thumbs up, you know, just down in the bar there, and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know exactly when the next video is landing on YouTube. So for tonight, everyone, this is SickMom. Check it out.